Alicia Showalter Reynolds was a 25-year-old graduate of Goshen College, studying pharmacology and molecular science at Johns Hopkins University. As a part of her PhD graduate studies, she was researching vaccine technology to provide much-needed vaccinations in underdeveloped nations. NBC 12 out of Richmond, Virginia, quoted her father, Harley Showalter, describing his admiration for her grit, determination, spunkiness, brilliance, and beauty. She was married to the love of her life, Mark Reynolds. But on Saturday, March 2nd, 1996, at 7:30 in the morning, Alicia said goodbye to her husband for the last time. She was to meet her mother at 10:30 at a mall in Charlottesville, Virginia, over 100 miles away from her then home in Baltimore, Maryland. They were to have a fun day of shopping together. But her mother, Sadie Showalter, began to worry when Alicia hadn't shown up by 11 o'clock. She called her son-in-law Mark around 11:15, who confirmed that Alicia had left early enough to arrive on time. There had been a little drizzle and fog that morning, though, so they thought she could just be running late due to slow traffic conditions. Sadie waited for hours for her daughter, but she never arrived. Later that evening at 6 p.m., a state trooper came across Alicia's abandoned 1993 Mercury Tracer along Route 29, just southwest of Culpeper, Virginia, and 50 miles northeast of Charlottesville, where she was to meet her mother. Her car was found with a napkin under the windshield wiper, which is a common sign for vehicle problems, but upon later inspection, there were no mechanical issues found. The following day, the news was reporting her as a missing person, and police set up a roadblock on Route 29 to ask travelers if they had seen anything suspicious, or at the very least if they had seen Alicia. At least 3 witnesses reported seeing her talking to a, quote, clean-cut white man who had pulled over with her. He was in a dark-colored pickup truck. During that traffic stop, other women told police officers that the same man had attempted to flag them down on the highway to get them to pull over. With that information, the police began to piece together what may have happened to Alicia. More than 20 other women came forward to report similar incidents they'd had over the past several weeks. A white man in a dark pickup truck would approach, either behind or beside them, sometimes flashing his high beams. He would try to convey that there was something wrong with the woman's car and direct them to pull over. Some women did not, but for the ones who did, he would look under their vehicle and tell them something was wrong with it. He would then offer to give them a ride to the nearest service station or phone. In the earlier instances, the women were simply driven to a phone and safely dropped off. These women reported the man as being very polite and helpful. The women who refused to pull over, however, said he became irate. Some reported him pounding his fist on the steering wheel and clearly mouthing words in anger. Investigators believe that the suspect was practicing and getting comfortable, or building up the, quote, courage to engage in his ultimate goal. And just 1 week before Alicia's abduction, another woman was stopped by the suspect in a neighboring county. She accepted a ride from him when he told her that sparks were flying out from under her car. She reported that he was very polite and seemed trustworthy. She actually felt thankful for the help. But during the ride, he kept slowing down and pulling off the road. He did it 3 times, and at that point, she began to worry. He inevitably pulled over and attacked her, but she fought him hard. He must have decided that it wasn't worth the fight, so he told her to get out and shoved her out of the truck as she opened the door. But as he took off, her arm was still entangled in the seatbelt. She managed to free herself but suffered a broken ankle. Luckily, her life was spared that night, as we now know what ultimately became of Alicia Showalter Reynolds just 7 days later on the following Saturday, March 2nd. The search for Alicia went on for 2 whole months until May 7th, when a citizen discovered her body in a wooded area just 15 miles southeast of Culpeper in Lignum, Virginia. Alicia had been murdered. Reports stated it was likely on the same day of her disappearance, but no official cause of death has been released in her case. Alicia's killer has been dubbed the Route 29 Stalker. Law enforcement believes that he started his, quote, rehearsals in February of 1996 around the Culpeper area on Route 29. He stopped operating in that area shortly after Alicia's March 2nd abduction, and law enforcement is still searching for this suspect today. Investigators believe he may have moved away from the area or even the state, though there are some more recent cases in the area that many believe may be connected to the Route 29 stalker. There were a few composite sketches created, but then investigators released one in color that is now used as the main sketch. The suspect is a white male who was between the ages of 35 to 45 years old in 1996. He is between 5'10" to 6 feet tall with a medium build. Reports first stated light brown hair, but that was officially changed to reddish brown hair, and witnesses stated that he frequently brushed it back with his left hand. He was seen wearing jeans and a flannel or striped shirt, and he may have grown a beard or mustache at this point. Witnesses who accepted rides reported that the man used the name Larry Breeden. This was believed to be a fake alias used by the suspect. During his crimes in Culpeper, he drove a dark Nissan pickup with chrome bumpers and wheels and possible stripes on the side. There were other murders committed nearby that may be linked to the Route 29 stalker, and as briefly mentioned earlier, many believe he is still active to this day. Some even believe it's more than one person working together to commit these crimes. There were some potential suspects on law enforcement's radar. One such person of interest was Darrell Rice. However, he was never charged. Police believe they have fingerprints and hairs belonging to Alicia's killer, and no match has been made to date. But Rice was arrested and convicted for attempting to abduct a woman who was bicycling around the area and time of Alicia's abduction. He was also suspected for involvement in other nearby murders. Another case he was suspected in was the double murder of Julianne Williams and Laura Winans in Shenandoah National Park just months after Alicia's abduction. Their double homicide has also been linked to another string of double murders known as the Colonial Parkway murders. These serial killings are believed to include 4 and possibly up to 8 double homicides along or near the Colonial Parkway between 1986 and 1996. Julianne and Laura, also known as Julie and Lolly, aged 24 and 26 respectively, are believed by many to be the last victims in that string of double murders. And their murders occurred very close to Alicia Reynolds' murder, both in physical proximity as well as point in time. Alicia was murdered in March of 96, while Julie and Lolly's homicides occurred in May of that same year in Shenandoah National Park. Here's a quick snapshot of Google Maps showing just how close Shenandoah National Park is to Route 29 where Alicia was abducted. And here's another to show the distance to Lignum, Virginia, where Alicia's body was found. I'm going to cover the Colonial Parkway murders case by case chronologically, starting with the first double homicide of Kathleen Thomas and Rebecca Dowsky in October of 1986. There are even some similarities to Delphi with some of the Colonial Parkway murders. Some feel that not all of the Colonial Parkway murders are connected, while others do. Some believe there was one perpetrator, while others believe there were likely 2 or more. This string of serial killings are very horrific, and they don't get much public awareness or advocacy. But Bill Thomas, brother of Cathleen, has been advocating for his sister and Rebecca and all of the victims of the Colonial Parkway killer for decades. He has stayed in contact with investigators, has done interviews, and now even has a podcast called Mind Over Murder, which I will link in the description. For now, over 25 years later, Alicia Showalter Reynolds' family also awaits justice for her murder. Alicia had a kind and trusting soul, and her openness was taken advantage of by a vicious predator who stole her life and still walks free. And this is a good moment to talk about safety for women and also men on the roads. This is not to victim blame in any way, because these types of things aren't really even talked about until something bad happens. And it's natural to be concerned if a friendly traveler says there's something wrong with your vehicle. But never stop or pull over for them. Always drive to the nearest public location where other people are present, and make sure it's well lit if you are traveling at night. And never hesitate to report anything you find to be suspicious. So, on that note, if you have any information about the Route 29 stalker that may be helpful to investigators working on Alicia Showalter Reynolds' case, then please contact the Virginia State Police or their BCI as shown on screen, as well as listed in the description. And keep yourself and your loved ones safe out there.